morning, everybody. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Suzanne Molnar. I'm a member of the worship committee, and I'm the worship associate for today. We are a church which welcomes everyone who wishes to covenant with us, irrespective of age, gender, identity, even politics. We stretch on that one, but we try, you know? Don't we? It's important to be here together, and it's important to look around and say, yes, these are people who are here with me. This is a special Sunday because we're welcoming new members. That's always a celebration. And speaking of celebrations, yes, the mortgage payoff party, November 12th. That's counted 1 week away, right? Please sign up in the back for what you bring for potluck, and plan to just be here with us and celebrate. It's been a long journey, and we are here. This is paid off, thanks to the generosity of a lot of people. Okay, also, because it has changed, I know this has been announced before, but because it has changed, it's important for me to announce and point out that the auction has been pushed back to January the 21st, giving you lots of time to think about what you would like to put up for donation. As somebody who's run auctions here a lot, I can tell you that concrete things are good, social things are even better. People pay to be together for dinners, for outings. Also, if you by any chance do anything with your hands in terms of yard maintenance or repair of something indoors, like plumbing, people will fight for that and donate lots of money in your honor for doing that. So keep those in mind. And when we do it, we have fun. That's a lot of it. It's a second party, and it'll be in January 21st. And finally, there's all the announcements that are in your order of service, and please look at them. And if you're joining us online, they're scrolled. Late breaking announcement that's not in any of the above. Justice Choir being formed out of TVUUC, but wanting everybody who can sing and would like to join. There's an organizing meeting next Saturday afternoon. This is the announcement. I'll put it next to the sign-up sheet down there. Food, singing, they'll be together. Is there any other announcement that I have forgotten? There probably is. Nope. Okay. Reverend Carol will now invite the bowl to sound.
Good morning, everyone. Special good morning to those of you who are with us virtually, whether it's today or some other time that you are listening to this service. We're glad that you're here as well. I'm Reverend Carol Bedeau. I'm privileged to serve here as minister. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Today, we're talking about finding hope in the face of challenges in our world. The topic for today is Love Has Already Won, and that is a concept that we're going to sing about and we're going to talk about, and I invite you, as the bowl sounds, to reflect on what it is that gives you hope. There are plenty of things to give us despair. There are plenty of things to give us concern. There are plenty of things to give us worry. And those are all important things to be aware of. And at the same time, it's also really important to be able to hold on to hope. So as the bowl sings to us this morning, and as you take a few deep breaths, I encourage you to just consider what it is that gives you hope.
And Reverend Carol will light the chalice. I'm pulling the chalice reading. It's one of my all-time favorites. From here, it's Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Albert Schweitzer.
I'm going to ask Suzanne to light our 2 community candles, if you would, for us. I'd like to invite us this morning to just take a moment, as our community candles are lit, to breathe and hold in our hearts and minds the people of Ukraine, the people of Israel, the people of Gaza and the West Bank, the people of other parts of the world. There are so many, too many to name, where people are suffering, where there is strife and conflict. Let us take a minute to hold in our hearts people in our families or even in our homes who are struggling. There is so much suffering in our world, more than we can possibly hold as individuals, but together, let us just take a moment to hold that all in the container of this community. May there be peace where there is strife. May there be hope where there is despair. May there be opportunities for change and growth where it seems only impossibility exists. And may we each find ways as individuals and as a community to bring some of those things to a hurting world. May it be so. This morning, we're going to start with the choir singing a song that is about that, about love and finding hope and love and promise in the face of pretty challenging circumstances. So I'm going to invite the choir to come forward, and we will be singing Love Has Already Won.
In the flash of hate and terror,
Thank you, choir. So the point of that song is that in the face of all these things that happen in the world, love will win. Love will win every single time, because love transcends even death and even destruction. And it can get really easy to get caught up in all of the death and the destruction and the struggle and the strife and lose sight of and hold of love. One of my favorite things happening at Westside right now is our Thursday evening discussion group. I don't get to participate really very often because of my schedule. But first, I just want Bridget to raise your hand. And Judy, and who else is helping out make that happen? Ellen and Diane and Sherry. There's a whole bunch of people. The Thursday evening discussion group is a group that meets online and discusses all kinds of topics, politics and philosophical and ethical questions, approaches to well-being, all sorts of things in this crazy world. But one of the things that they talk about really often is good news. And I find this truly inspirational because there's so much bad news that it is really important to hold on to good news. So even though I don't usually get to participate in the actual discussion, I love it when that email comes through my inbox that says, we're talking about good news this week. I think that's wonderful. So today, instead of talking about all the things that are going wrong, we're going to talk about good news. There is always reason for hope. There is always reason to feel positive. And there's so much love going on out there in the world that we aren't paying attention to. So this doesn't seem like just a nice thing to do, folks. This is essential. This is essential. This world can seem pretty daunting. If you look at the regular news, it's really clear that there's lots of horrible stuff happening. And we do need to be engaged and aware about all that. But if that's all we focus on, we quickly become burned out and depressed and stressed, and we lose our ability to function. So the good news is an important ministry of this congregation. So today we're going to talk about what's going right in the world. And guess what? There is a whole news network called, you guessed it, the Good News Network. Google it. It's amazing. The Good News Network. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you just a few stories. There are so many stories from the Good News Network. Like, I just clicked on it, and there was just this week, all these stories of amazing things that are happening. Some of them are in science and technology, some are in the environmental category, some are just everyday social interactions people are having. Some are, sort of those heroic neighbor helping neighbor moments. So much is going right. So I just chose 3 or 4 that I thought I'd share with you. These are all from the last few days. In Oregon, Ring doorbell. Anybody got a Ring doorbell, right? You put the Ring doorbell camera on your front door to catch bad things happening, but sometimes it catches good things happening. So in Oregon this week, camera footage captured some teenagers engaging in Halloween treating that goes against the stereotypes that we might have of teenagers being trickish on Halloween. So some teenagers come across an unstaffed and empty candy dish on a porch. And the sign says, "Please take only one." And of course, we know that, and these teens knew that lots of times teens towards the end of the evening go through and they take a whole bunch. They don't take just one, they take many candies. So these teens decided to do a good deed, and the Ring doorbell camera caught them refilling the candy dish with all of their candy from their stash. Isn't that nice? That is a really nice thing to do. Commenting on the act later, one of the teens said they knew that other teens would be grabbing the candy, but they wanted to make sure that the younger kids, if they showed up, would have something to take. Really cool. So that's a very local personal thing. In England, Lizzie Larbaleister is a volunteer for British Divers Marine Life Rescue. Okay? She spent 9 months caring for injured seals after she turned her Airbnb into a makeshift animal hospital. So she noticed that injured seals needed more places to be cared for. So instead of keeping her Airbnb as a source of income, she turned it into a seal hospital. After determining that that simply wasn't enough space for injured seals, she, her husband, and a number of other volunteers built a fully functioning seal hospital from the ground up in Cornwall. She also happens to be a member of Surfers Against Sewage and Ghost Net Buster, which is working on getting, the nets out of the water that are dangerous. And as a result of all her dedicated environmental work, she received the prestigious Animal Action Award from the International Fund for Animal Welfare, presented in London earlier this week. One person. She saw, seals need my help. I'll do it. Okay? That's a big deal. Much broader story. In China, doctors have successfully used gene therapy to cure deafness in a group of young children. Cooperation between teams affiliated with Harvard University and Fudan University in China developed the method in which children, now this is really interesting use of technology, children were injected with a reprogrammed virus that carried replacement DNA that altered the inner ear canal, and particularly the hairs of the inner ear canal, that detect vibration and send information to the brain. So they started with a group of 10 children, and they gave them these injections which carried this virus, which went to the ears and repaired the ear hairs, and 9 of those children are completely fully hearing now, which is stunning. They say that this particular version of hearing loss is not the most common. It's a fairly small number of people that have this particular kind of hearing loss, but if you're one of those people, that's a really big deal. Okay, another environmental story. In Ohio, on the Cuyahoga River, one company created a huge win for nature. Now, how many of you remember the name the Cuyahoga River? Anybody remember what the Cuyahoga is famous for? Pollution. Catching on fire. It's famous for catching on fire because it's so polluted. That's what it's famous for. Now, it has since become a protected river, but one company, Summit Metro Parks, used an abandoned golf course to restore habitat and help the river. So apparently, lots of golf courses are abandoned. Currently, they're just, golf courses that are being abandoned. And generally, what happens with those spaces is that the way they have been maintained for years with non-native grasses planted and heavily watered and heavily mowed, pesticides, herbicides, all kinds of chemicals, the way that they've been maintained means that when they're abandoned, they generally turn into a playground for invasive species. But Summit Metro Parks took this abandoned golf course on the Cuyahoga River, they acquired it, and it's in between 2 other habitats that they've already restored. They merged these 2 existing properties with this, and they created a 1,900-acre habitat for native ants and plantimals. They actually put the river course, they helped put the river course back, and where there had once been only 200 species of plants and animals, there are now 500 species thriving, which is pretty cool. Okay, and finally, in financial news, this one got my wheels spinning. Like I thought, this is interesting. I wonder what we could do about this. In financial news, there is an apparent upswing in organizations designed specifically to cancel debt for other people. In Atlanta, an organization called Debt Collective worked with the Rolling Jubilee Fund to purchase and cancel $10 million in student loans. So the way this works is this. Because organizations like colleges, and this also happens with hospitals, because they know that they are going to lose an enormous amount of money to unpaid debt that people can't pay, those institutions are often willing to accept cash infusions to repay those debts at the rate of pennies on the dollar. So in this particular story, the Rolling Jubilee Fund and Debt Collective in Atlanta paid Morehouse College, which is a traditional black college in Georgia. They paid them 1.25 pennies for every dollar of debt and paid off $10 million in student debt. That's amazing. That's amazing. Another organization that's been operating a little bit longer is called RIP Medical Debt, and that organization alone has canceled $6.7 billion, with a B, billion dollars in medical debt to date. That's impressive. That's impressive. Now, here's what's most amazing to me about these stories. They don't necessarily require governments to do the work or huge corporations to do the work. These are individuals, small companies, nonprofits, small groups of people who decided they could make a difference. It's a researcher who tackled a problem that seemed unsolvable. The stories on the Good News Network looked like, it was just a rolling thread, innumerable stories. The good things they report range from small neighbor-to-neighbor things to huge, restoring habitats, restoring hearing. These are huge things. So what about us? What about you? What about me? If we're listening to the regular news, we're going to feel hopeless. But this is a whole different thing. Looking at the Good News Network made me feel hopeful. It made me feel powerful. It made me feel like I had agency. It made me feel like I could do something, maybe not start a SEAL hospital, but something, right? We could do something. The top header of the Good News Network, the banner across the top of the page, they put a quote for the day every day. And the quote for November 4th was from Anais Nin. And she said, "We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are." Think about that for a minute. We don't actually see the world as they are, the things in the world as they are. We see them as we are. And what this means to me is that how we focus our attention and energy, the people we decide to be, shapes how we understand our world. The November 3rd quote from Lucy Laram was this: "If the world seems cold to you, kindle fires to warm it." We get to choose. We get to choose. Do we look at the world and feel despair and hopelessness and powerlessness? Or do we look at the world and say, well, I can't do it all, but I can do something? It seems to me that paying attention to good news is fuel for deciding that we can be people who make a difference, that we can make the world better, that we can focus on what's possible rather than what's out of reach for us today. So there's lots of ways that we do that here already, right? The Green Sanctuary team is headed up by, raise your hand if you're on the Green Sanctuary team right now. Raise your hand. We got a number of people. Yay to, yes, let's clap for that. Yes. This team is working hard on all kinds of projects right now to figure out how we can make a difference in our little corner of the world for the environment. Our justice and generosity projects, where's Elizabeth? Elizabeth, raise your hand. Elizabeth is our membership coordinator and helps head up a lot of our justice and generosity projects, which make a big difference. There are so many things we can do. I will tell you, I want to throw out a reminder to those of you who might not know this. If during this holiday season that's coming up over the next few months, you find that you're getting rid of old things because you got some new things in your house and you want to make a donation, Westside is listed with CARM as a donor, if you make a donation to CARM and you tell them that you're affiliated with Westside, they will write that down, and every quarter they give us gift cards based on how much we have donated, which we then in turn donate to people who are coming out of incarceration and need supplies to return back into the world. So there are so many things we can do. Let's take the good news and realize that while we are engaged with what's happening that we can't handle, there's so much we can do. So let's not let bad news get us down. Let's not let the bad news get us down. Let's let the good news get us moving, okay? So there is some good news here at Westside, as you have heard. We paid off the mortgage. You paid off the mortgage. Yay! You paid off the mortgage. Fantastic. And we have the good news that some of the folks who haven't been able to attend in recent years are going to be here visiting with us next Sunday. We're going to get to hear some stories about that. That is awesome. And the other piece of good news we have is that just as we have a long history of people who've supported this congregation, we continue to have new people who are showing up. And today, we have a number of new folks. You all may not remember that we were going to do this today, but here you are, and I see that some of you are here. We have some new folks who have joined Westside or who are in the process of joining Westside. And today we're going to take a moment to honor those people who are continuing to show up with hearts and hands to be part of this. Now, you got a couple options here, folks, those of when I say your name. So if you would like, I'm going to say the names of the folks who have joined recently or who are actually going to sign the book today. You can come forward and sign the book if you would like to do it now. And you can, if you would rather not come forward and sign the book right now, you can wave your hand in the air. But Elizabeth, why don't you come help me? Elizabeth has some gifts for you all. So, the first thing I'm going to do is say, Barbara, you missed the last membership ceremony. Barbara, raise your hand. You did. You were sick or you had to be out of town that day, right? So you weren't here. That was the day that Michelle joined. So Barbara Chapin never actually signed the book after you said you were gonna. So come on up if you want to do that. You're welcome to come sign it now because we have a gift for you now too. Yay! Oh, and you might want to look at the previous page. It's your name and your address, I believe. Okay, start a new page. Isn't that symbolic? We're starting a new page. So Brian Hill and Deanna Hill already signed. They are not here this morning because I think they're going to be here this afternoon for our Samhain celebration. Judith Feiner and Mark Penko, would you like to sign the book? We would love to have you come up and sign the book. Welcome. And Joey, would you like to come sign the book? Joey was like, oh, I thought I already did that. Joey Cody. So welcome to all of these wonderful people who are already getting involved in all kinds of ways. We often, as you're signing, one of the things I want to say to the congregation is we often resist the word blessing. And you often find the word blessing in Tennessee culture to be one that they struggle with. We had a long debate about this a few years ago when I used the word in a service. Somebody said, you can't use that word. And I was like, well, I'm going to use it, and I'm about to use it again. Because today, we recognize the blessing of each person who shows up in this building. Blessings don't have to come from some abstract, away from us, divine or invisible source. Blessings can be things we do for each other. Each of these people and each of you, whether you are officially a member or just visiting us, or whether you've been attending and don't feel like you're a joiner, that is okay. Each of us is a blessing to the community and to the world. So let us all take a moment to really appreciate the blessing that is this community and the blessing that is each person who participates. We are blessed by your presence here. We're going to take a moment. Sandra has another piece of music to play for us, and I would just like to invite you to take a minute while Sandra is playing to think of a blessing or a piece of good news you might shout out into the space when Sandra is done playing. All right? I had a few stories. Y'all get a chance to think of something that you think is a blessing or a piece of good news. Okay, that was a particularly perfect choice, Sandra. Thank you. So for those of you who might not know that song is We'll Build a Land. And it's about building the land we dream of. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness resolves all mourning. We'll build the promised land that can be. Come build a land, sisters and brothers. The next phrase is not necessarily very you, anointed by God, to then create peace where justice shall roll down like the waters and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Thank you, Sandra. That was perfect. Okay, now's your chance. Anybody want to shout out a piece of good news or a blessing that you want to share with everybody? Oh, okay. Let's see. I'm going to try to figure out how to do this. Oh, yeah, grab the other mic. That would be awesome. Grab the other mic. Perfect. Yep, and if anybody is online and you want to put it in the chat or email me at revcarol@westsideuuc.org, you can do that now. Brad's getting the microphone ready. We're throwing stuff at him as a surprise today. There.
Test.
There you go. All right. Who's got a blessing they want to share or a good news?
Hi, my name is Kelly. My good news is that I got accepted as a patient into a specialty clinic for my heart that we've been trying to get into for a while.
Awesome. Yay.
I've been blessed in the last year of being able to retire from my job so I can do and use my time the way I want to instead of the way somebody else wants me to.
Awesome. Awesome. Jerry had one. Bridget.
I like the weather. That's my praise or joy or whatever.
I'm Jerry, and I have two thoughts. One, I read that some medical people have figured out a way to cure sickle cell disease in black people, and that's amazing to the health of a lot of our black friends. And secondly, the Tremont Institute has a new piece of ground outside of Smoky Mountain National Park, and they're going to be able to serve 3 times as many kids as they do now.
Oh,
and that's an amazing program.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Okay.
I think we all can agree how fortunate we are to live in the beautiful state of Tennessee.
Yes.
And I also want to give a shout out to Bridget, all of you that come to the Thursday night discussions knows that she is the heart of our discussion group. She takes so much time organizing us, coming up with ideas, leading us, and we appreciate you.
Absolutely, yes. Suzanne's got one.
The music that Sandra just played reminded me, I've heard that since I was a teenager in a UU church, being rescued from a Methodist church, how much of a blessing this church and UU broadly has been in my life and my kids' life. Growing up in East Tennessee, it was huge. And one more. I think everybody can agree, Reverend Carol is an incredible blessing.
Thank you.
I have one from the chat on YouTube from Mike Owen, who says, "It's a blessing that I've decided to attend this church. I really needed something in my life."
Awesome, we're glad to have you here. Awesome. I would like to say, good news that we figured out Zoom and YouTube. I mean, that what started as a big challenge turned into a huge opportunity for us. And there was some pushing and pulling around it, but what a blessing to be able to welcome people who may not be able to be physically present with us, maybe ever or every week. Such a great opportunity. Wonderful. Anybody got anything else? Elizabeth?
Thank you, Brad.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Brad, our tech person. Yay. Huge blessing.
It was a blessing to be able to go to Italy with my great friend Anne.
Yay.
And one thing that was really neat is they celebrated daylight savings fallback last week. So I've gotten to fall back twice.
Okay. Yeah. That is a blessing today, by the way. That we can count that too. That we all got an extra hour of sleep. Oh, Linda's got one more from the chat. Isn't the chat cool? Yay for the chat.
So this is from Curtis Dush. It says, "It's a blessing for us to have virtual access to these services and our various groups and committees."
Huge. And we will do this more next week, but I'd like us all to just take a moment to think of the blessing of those who went before us. We had our remembrance service last week. We'll have a service next week where we're going to think about the people who built this community. Let us take a moment to just be grateful. Think about what generations before us faced in the world, in struggle, in difficulty. Think about the kinds of challenges other people have faced, and yet here we are in a beautiful space with community, with the ability to make a difference in the world. What an incredible gift that is. So we're going to just share a little reminder about opportunities to continue to do good work in the world. You can always contribute to the financial health of this organization through making donations. You can do that online, virtually. You can do that if you are in the room and you'd like to make a contribution to Westside. You can do that using our magic box at the back of the room, which you can put a cash or a check in. And you can also use the QR code there or on your screen if you'd like to make a donation. We will be moving, in the coming year, we'll be moving into another pledge season. So if you want to be thinking about that, you can do that. You don't have to, if you've never pledged before, you don't have to wait until next spring if you want to make a pledge. That is also something you can do sooner. We also, as we mentioned, we have some current justice and generosity projects. And Elizabeth, would you be willing to tell us about the status of our justice and generosity projects right now?
We've been working on 2 projects this fall. We've been collecting products for Samantha Mundy's program. Carol mentioned it earlier, to support people who are leaving incarceration. And we've also been collecting period products for Lenore City Middle and Lenore City High School. And I can tell you personally, as I've dropped those off, the products stay with the nurse in the nurse's office, and they are so grateful for everything we've donated. We'll be doing those projects for another 2 weeks, ending them on the 17th, right before Thanksgiving. So if you can buy another box of tampons or find something to give to Samantha's program, clothing or cloth sacks, that would be highly appreciated. And
Toiletries now, too.
oh, and toiletries also. The 2 boxes are in the foyer, and again, we'll be collecting those for 2 weeks until the 17th. And coming up, we did this last year, it was tons of fun. We supported some children from Family Promise, and we'll be doing that again. I don't have information yet on the number of kids or what their ages and things like that, but last year we decorated or wrapped everything, and we did that we'll be doing that on December 10th this year, so after the church service, correct?
Yep, at the holiday party.
At the holiday party, and so I hope you'll be able to support those kids from Family Promise.
And if you have a project or an idea that you'd like for us to consider for an upcoming Justice or Generosity project, please let us know. You can talk to me. You can talk to Elizabeth. We have some ongoing programs that we support. We support The Bottom in Knoxville. We support Family Promise. We support Samantha's program. But we are always looking for other opportunities. So if there's anything, Alice has an idea. Yes. Oh, a Harvey Broom.
We have a pantry.
Yes.
Basket out in the lobby every Sunday, and the food goes to a church that
Yep.
then distributes it to people who are in need.
Yep, I'm going to repeat that. We have a food pantry basket in the lobby, so anybody who wants to donate to that at any time, Alice and Jerry take that to a local church that actually does the food pantry work. We contribute to that. You can do that anytime. And also, our current Share the Plate partner, if you make a donation, that's like a cash donation, or you want to make a designated donation, we are supporting help me get this right, the Harvey Broom chapter of the Sierra Club's program. What's it called, Jerry?
Inspiring Connections Outdoors.
Inspiring Connections Outdoors, which works with youth, correct? To give them opportunities to be out in nature. So those are all things we're doing right now. You can support any one of those. So give yourselves a round of applause. Good heavens. That's a lot that we're doing. That is some good news. We're doing a lot of good. Wait, one moment. There it is. It's back. It's back. Thank you, Brad. May the spirit of good news be part of our daily lives, and let us connect with one another around that. If you would like to rise in body or spirit, you are invited to hold your own hands, or if you would like to hold the hand of someone near you, you may do so. But you can hold your own hand too. That counts. That counts. Hold on. I got to get a mic. Hold on. Got to get the microphone. Okay. All right. It is okay to hold your own hand. You do not have to hold other people's hands. May the spirit of good news be part of every day of your life. May you remember that you have the ability to see the world through eyes of hope and promise and power and love. May you remember that you always have the ability to make a difference in your world. May you go in peace, the peace that comes from knowing love has already won, and may you go in passion to transform the world and make it the world you dream of. May it be so. Go in peace and passion.